or in the House, I think. That's speaker. That's a speaker. I actually end up with an intern that needed a micromanager, and I'm not. So we didn't accomplish as much, and I didn't get the support I needed. And because it's a 45-day crazy time, I didn't spend the time. Maybe, I mean, I could have probably put more, mechanisms to check on his, and put more goals, and maybe he needed more visual aid on the goals or so forth. And I failed, but it's only happened 1 out of my 7 interns. Everybody else, we've been able to have very successful, sessions and accomplish everything we needed. My last intern was fabulous, but this person, I mean, it was probably it was very frustrating experience for me. I'm sure it was frustrating for him, and we didn't get accomplished what we needed to accomplish as a team. Yeah. I mean, I accomplished my bills, they passed everything, but I had to do a lot of the stuff that I usually have my interns do it. I have to do it myself because he just wasn't responding. Okay. But I think he just needed more micromanagement, and I refuse to micromanage people. So,
in cases where the objective is subjective in nature, how do you, in the leadership role, measure success in those?
That's tough. I don't think when it's subjective, and a lot of things are subjective. I mean, it's unfortunate. Even, like I said, we use balanced scorecards. That's kind of like the flavor of the month 10 years ago, and they went balanced scorecards from for-profit to non-profit to government. I think you have to even set criteria within the subjectivity. I mean, when you're doing subjective analysis, and I don't like it, but the more criteria you set, the more you protect yourself as a leader when people will question you. Because I think when it's subjective, they're going to question no matter what. And the more criteria you have, even within the subjective component, the more protected you are.
Establishing criteria. What are people's biggest and most consistent criticisms in this role? And how does this compare with your own opinion of your shortcomings? Or your own perceived shortcomings?
I think one of the biggest criticisms, I think my brain is always going really fast, and I don't think my speech gets to that pace. So sometimes I think communication-wise, I may assume they know what I'm talking about, which assumption is a terrible thing to do. So I will give them this thing, I need this, and I'm like, I think they already got my vision and it's not there. So I've had staff come back and be like, we missed that component. Like, I know what you want, but I'm still trying to figure out in the bigger picture what that means. And and that's hard because when you're in a hurry, which is how my life is, unfortunately, I think it may, in fairness, I put 2 meetings thinking that I can make it in 10 minutes from one side of town to the other, which is not going to happen, which has just happened with you guys. You experienced that with me. So I haven't learned that I need to put at least 20 minutes or half an hour between one meeting to another. I still think I'm Superwoman. I can make it. It doesn't work, so I'm still working on it. I've learned to say no already. So I'm still, I'm not an expert in saying no. So I usually put a lot of stuff on my plate. And my staff suffers, right? Because they're the ones that are facing people that are waiting for me, and it sucks to do that. I'm always late. So they already learned that I'm always going to be late. And I hate that because my mom hates that. And she's like, I taught you never to be late and blah, blah, blah. My husband hates it. He's never late to anything. And I've just, I think I'm in compliance already. I'm like, that's just life. I'm always going to be late. And it's a sad comment for me to say that. I need to get better at that. But I think the staff already, they learn with time that. And for example, with my last intern, which she was amazing, just hands down the best one. She learned how to work that with me. So she will put something in my calendar that will be 15 minutes before. So I will be like on time. The last couple of weeks, I'm like, wow, you learn fast. He's like, yep, that's just how we're going to do it now. So it is, to me, it's being late. I mean, that's just because I put things, combine them all. So I need staff that's, in this case with Viviana, which was wonderful. And I give the name to Dimitri. She actually took made an executive decision to start placing my agenda that way, and it worked well.
Okay. being an impactful leader, what is your definition of ethics, and how important is it to have ethical people, per your definition, on your team?
Well, I think ethics is, I don't know, I mean, I think we need to do more in putting ethics as part of our curriculums in schools from kindergarten all the way to, college and so forth. I think we introduce ethics too late sometimes, because sometimes that's learned behavior, and you may have unethical people at home, and those kids are learning from their parents, and it's not their fault. I mean, they're learning from what they have. So, and now you can't teach everything at school, and I get that. Okay, and that may just sound like a Republican comment, but it's true. I mean, a lot of it is not only taught at school, but I think we should be the default at school to bring ethics to the conversation and to really teach some of those skills, because I think there's skills within the ethic behavior. To me, ethics is critical, but again, we usually don't learn that at school until we enter, higher education. But I do like, in the case of my staff, I sometimes like to test them a little bit, just to check how they react to, even just not a big thing, but ethical on the way they answer to constituents, on the way to me, it's ethical. It's unethical when you treat people badly, and and I like to test that on them with constituents, right? I mean, and I do not tolerate that. I mean, I don't care if the constituent is, for example, a citizen or not of this country, if they can speak English or not. I mean, you treat them all the same, and that's been an interesting process. But so far, I've been very lucky. I mean, I have, like I say, great people working, in other other settings, for example. Taking the lunch time from an hour to 2, because I'm not a micromanager, but I'm not stupid, right? I mean, I'm in my office and suddenly, disappear for 2 hours, and then the staff starts talking, and he went home to eat with his family, which, but you can't have that be a pattern. I mean, at one point I had to intervene, and we had that incident in one of my offices where I was like, really? I mean, you're setting an example, and everybody's I mean, the thing is, everybody knows, including me, and that's just not going to work. So, I mean, I think I've had this but ethics is very important, and it should be, I think, part of I think as a community, we should embrace it and bring it to the conversations from kindergarten all the way up.
Okay. In your eyes, how important do you think it is to delegate tasks? Do you feel like delegation has some kind of benefits? And do you feel like delegating tasks to followers can help them feel more accepted and ultimately appreciated?
It's a great question. I think it talks about the maturity of a leader when they learn to delegate. But it's a process. I don't think you're born or trained at school to delegate. It doesn't happen that easily, especially if you're a type A. I'm a type A, and I'm super, control freak, 100%. And that's been a great learning experience to delegate. And it is powerful, not only to them, but to you. You can do more things. So delegating assignments or, goals or whatever, it's great. It's hard for some people. It was very hard for me. It's still hard for me until I don't trust you, until I don't know your, capacity. I struggle, but I've learned with time that I either delegate or I'm not going to be effective. So I actually see delegating as more of a selfish thing for me, because it's my only way of actually being effective. But it's taking me a long time. Because of my control freak, perspective. I mean, I'm just like, I need to control this. I need to make sure it's, and I do review a lot. So before we send it, I still want to see it. But I've learned to please do this. Please make the phone calls, put the meeting in place. Do talk to the Department of Health and get the answer and email them. And, things that I used to be like, no, let me do it because I'm scared that we're going to say something that's not true or something that's not going to come out correctly. I've learned to do that, and I'm more effective now because of that. But I need to make sure that you have the competencies. And sometimes that takes a little bit of time to, assess competency, because a resume doesn't show your competency. I mean, even maybe you're reading one of your, especially in our case with interns, they're college students. So, I mean, unless I can read one paper and I'm thinking, okay, this person looks like they can semi-write, but I don't know who, if that person wrote it. It's been interesting to see them writing emails, for example. I mean, correspondence that to you, I mean, to me is very simple. These kids are struggling, and I mean, it's just telling about our education system. I mean, don't take me wrong. I mean, out of all of these experiences you learn, it's like, holy cow, no wonder there's so many problems. It's not the kids' problem only. I mean, there's obviously some, issues related to education, but to me now to delegate is a selfish thing, so I could be more effective. But it is a huge struggle, and I still struggle many years later because of my control freak side. Where I want to make sure everything's okay and I feel comfortable.
What do you think is the most important virtue for a leader? And do you feel like virtues can be acquired through imitation and observation?
So I'll start with the second part of the question. Yes, you can acquire virtue through watching other leaders or reading from other leaders. My parents, especially my dad really embraces reading stories about leaders, and I remember he will sit with my brother with me, and he will tell us the stories about different leaders and what they will do, and maybe we could put that in practice in our own life. And we were like 7 and we're like, what is this guy talking about, right? I mean, it's so crazy because now it all makes sense. And now I try to do that with my daughter, and she looks at me the same way I looked at my dad. And I'm like, oh, this is stories repeat, history repeats again, right? But number one in any leader has to be humility. I mean, if you're not humble, good luck. Because, life is odd. And you may be on the top, but you may be on the bottom the next day. It's just, and karma is just out there. So I've learned this, because I've seen it so many times, and I used to tell my mom, like, Mom, I'm lucky because I've seen so many things, and even though I'm, young, and this is 10 years ago, but, I'm in my mid-20s, and I've seen so many bizarre things with people in power that have fallen. Like, the fall is bad. I mean, the same way they went up, they fall down in this nasty, horrible way, and now they're asking me for a job. Here you are in this cycle of life. So if you're a good leader, you learn to be humble because you never know where you're going to be. That's my whole take in life. And that's what I tell my daughter every single day. I'm like, you are nice to every single human being, no matter who that is, because you never know where that person is going to be and where you're going to be 10 years from now. And Mom, like, mark my words, life is bizarre. And if you put that in practice in your personal life as much as you do in your professional life, I think you will succeed. Because people, and it has to be genuine. I mean, you can't just be like a study, like, oh, I'm going to be nice because my mom says I'm going to be nice. You have to generally get to the point in life where you realize that being a senator, yeah, it's okay, but it's